Look, the CDL is entering the playoffs, okay? The CDL is entering the playoffs, and it's time for us to break this down. If you're not sure what the CDL is, it is the Check Down League. So y'all call it NFL, I call it CDL. So let's get right into it, right? So when we get to this AFC, I'd like to start with the AFC first because I think there's some intriguing matchups when it comes to the AFC, right? So when we talk about the AFC, Steelers, Bills. The Bills come off an improbable run here, and it might explain why Sean McDermott was out here trying to channel his troops to be more like the terrorists on 9/11 to get them to make this improbable playoff run, a playoff run that includes securing the AFC East, which should have went to the Miami Dolphins, but apparently didn't because the Dolphins don't know how to close, okay? Let me turn this light on. The Miami Dolphins do not know how to close football games, and they left the door open for the Buffalo Bills to sneak back in there and steal off yet another division championship. So the Bills are taking on the Steelers. The Steelers, again, they needed a lot of things to break right, and every single thing of those things broke right for the Steelers to be able to get into the playoffs. So now they have to face Josh Allen. Josh Allen is still a turnover machine. Let's be clear. Another fumble and 2 more interceptions in a game that the Bills had to have. They won that game in spite of Josh Allen. That is the roller coaster. That is the Josh Allen experience, to where he can make runs from seemingly impossible downs and yardage needed. And then he'll throw 2 picks. And then he'll fumble the rock away. And if we go down here and really try to tap in as to how bad he's been, I think this year has been a lot of turnovers. Like the whole thing of him being fixed, 29 touchdowns to 18 interceptions, but the 18 interceptions is only one piece of this, okay? It's only one piece because there's a lot more here. I'm not zooming in too much. There's more here than just the 18 interceptions. We need to get into these fumbles because the fumbles have been a thing of his for a while. And if you see here, this is a game log. Let's see here. This is the screen cutting it off a little bit here. So I will move this over just a tad bit so y'all can see. That's about it right there. Okay, so 1, 2 more. That's 3, 4, 5, 7 fumbles. So 7 fumbles this year to go along with the 18 interceptions. Okay, we can do the math. That's 25. Okay. Or is that 24? 24, 25. You do the math. So in regards to, not only do you have the 18 interceptions, then you add in the 7, that is 25. 25 turnovers to go with the 29 throwing touchdowns. And let's see if we can find that real quick in terms of the rushing touchdowns, because he is a dual threat. Where's his rushing? Oh, they're being really tight with the rushing this year. 15 rushing touchdowns. Okay, so he's definitely been a goal line threat. 15 rushing touchdowns. So when you add up his total touchdowns, what's that, 44? 44 total touchdowns against 25 turnovers. So Josh Allen is who the narratives I kept hearing about Lamar actually is. Like, he is the living embodiment of all the trash narratives that were said about Lamar Jackson over the offseason, into the preseason, through training camp, and et cetera, even through this season. The Ravens weren't looking so hot towards the middle of the year. And Lamar wasn't looking that hot towards the middle of the year. But he just stayed the course, and the team stayed the course. And the offense that Todd Monken finally set up, it started to work. And I have to give respect to Isaiah Likely, because Isaiah Likely, he was looking real mid-ish out here. All offseason, I kept hearing about 2 tight end set, Andrews and Likely. It's going to be a problem. And nothing was happening with that. Not a damn thing was happening with that. It was Mark Andrews being Mark Andrews, but Likely was out here being the middest of mid. So now, when we're talking about what is happening, when we talk about what the Ravens are and what they can be, a lot of this stuff, the question marks we had about Lamar, we're having now with Josh Allen. I'm sorry, but it's true. But they have a favorable matchup against the Pittsburgh Steelers. None of us actually think the Steelers can win this game, right? Like, sure, two teams play, anything can happen. But the likelihood is that the Bills are going to take care of business against the Pittsburgh Steelers. And that brings us now to where the Bills beat the Dolphins. The Dolphins had a chance to avoid Patrick Mahomes, to avoid Arrowhead Stadium, to avoid the cold. All they had to do was beat the Bills at the crib, and they couldn't do it. And Tua Tagovailoa, it's time. It's time to have that conversation. It's actually a little overdue. We've given him a lot of passes because of the concussions, and we're not sure. We need to see it for a full season. He played all the games this year, all 17. And we've seen the good, the bad, and to me, what I saw last night, the ugly. And I think we can come to a conclusion here that I think Cam Newton was right. I think Cam Newton was right. And I think that Cam Newton was out here saying, look, there are dudes that are top tier, elite tier, and then there's a whole bunch of game managers, and within the game manager tier, there are varying levels of game manager. And I think from what I saw from Tua Tagovailoa, especially over the last month and change, he belongs in that game manager tier. That's where he is, okay? That's where he is. That's where he belongs. And to me, quite honestly, the Dolphins sold us a bill of goods. The Dolphins gave us all those video game numbers early. They put up 70 on the Broncos. Remember how long ago it seems like they put up that 70 piece? They put up that 70 piece just a few months ago. And they gave up 56 to the Ravens just a few weeks ago. So they went from scoring 70 to giving up 56. Those are your Miami Dolphins, okay? Mike McDaniels had a lot of fluff, a lot of fanfare, a lot of, strong acumen, good system, Shanahan tree. He's like us. He plays Madden. He's doing plays on the field like it's Madden for real. Tyreek Hill was saying, I'm going to put up 2,000 receiving yards. And, Waddle got the owner buying ice and waddling in the owner's box. Like, it was all a dream in South Beach. It was all a dream on Collins. It was all a dream in Biscayne. Now, when you look at it, the games that they needed to win, they didn't. If you've been watching the in-season Hard Knocks, y'all know how I give it up about in-season Hard Knocks. I will stand firmly on in-season Hard Knocks is better than the training camp Hard Knocks, because you're actually watching them week to week in games that matter. I don't care about the hard luck story of some 7th round undrafted dude. I don't care about that by and large. I want to be in the locker room when the games actually matter. That's the access that I want as a consumer. In-season Hard Knocks gives you that. And we've had some great moments. We've had the Colts when they were spitting the bit. They had the last game of the season where they could have won the division and secured a playoff spot, win and get in. And they tricked it off against the Jaguars. That was a great moment. To see that locker room, to see those coaches, to see those players, and the aftermath of that. And last year, we had the Arizona Cardinals and seeing the whole Kyler Murray stuff and the Bidwell thing and the Steve Keim thing and just the Cliff Kingsbury thing, like all that stuff, seeing that happen in real time. That's the access we want. Now, again, it's NFL film, so you're not getting a complete access. You're not getting unedited versions of what happened, but you got enough. So with this Dolphins thing, it's like, oh, man, McDaniels, Tyreek Hill, Tua, Waddle, the defense, Jalen Ramsey. Oh, this is going to be lit. It's been mid. It's been the middest of mid, okay? They have tried to turn this into the training camp version of Hard Knocks. Now, I don't know if that's by design or if the storylines just haven't been exciting, but I cannot wait until we get the episode from Taking That L to Buffalo. I cannot wait. That is must-see television. I don't hide anything, NFL Films. I want to see that locker room after Tua Tagovailoa stare down Chase Claypool with the game on the line. Chase Claypool. Out of all the receivers, look, Tyreek Hill had a whole bunch of targets, so I can understand why you're trying to think, oh, I'm going to be cute here, and I'm going to look off Tyreek Hill and go to Chase Claypool, assuming he'll have one-on-one coverage. Chase Claypool was doubled, and you still went to him? Oh, Tua. That it's a multi-tiered mistake of what Tua Tagovailoa did in that game. I'll go to the chat real quick. Oh, my guy Lombardi's in the house. Lombardi Leap, what's good, bro? It has been too long. Salute. Thank you for pulling up. I appreciate it. It has been too long. The life has been life. New setup, new spot, new everything. So glad you could pull up, man. It has been a minute. Lombardi Leave. Josh Allen is a modern day Brett Favre, while LJ is Vic 2.0. I'm here for that. I co-sign that. And Lombardi Leap, do you think Justin Fields would do better than Tua in Miami? Oh, I'm glad you brought up Justin Fields. I am glad you brought up Justin Fields. There's a conversation that needs to be had to talk about Justin Fields. Justin Fields should be one of the most sought-after quarterbacks this upcoming offseason. Now, I know he has that Bears stigma on him because the Bears are a poverty franchise, as Lombardi Leap can attest to. The Bears are a franchise where you feel stained by them. Okay, I'll come off the screen here for a little bit. You feel stained by being associated with the Chicago Bears. Trust me, as a former fan, I still feel the stain of being associated with the Chicago Bears. So Justin Fields is also going to have that stigma where people are not going to trust. People are not going to believe what they saw. People are not going to believe in the numbers, in the data, in the tape. But trust me, if I'm Atlanta, if I'm Washington, and yes, if I'm Miami, I am looking at Justin Fields. I think you have to do that. I think you have to consider all options because Tua Tagovailoa showed me, especially in this game against Buffalo, staring down Chase Claypool with the game on the line while he's double covered, and you throw an out route? When's the last time Chase Claypool has won a route? One, two, won an out route. And double coverage? So there's the multi-tiered layered mistake that Tua Tagovailoa made. One, your primary is Chase Claypool, okay? Game on the line, and I was looking up, I think Tyreek Hill had 13 targets. Why couldn't it have been 14? Why couldn't Tyreek Hill get a 14th target? What's one more target going to do? No Jalen Waddle, so cool, I get it. But double coverage. So one, you're looking at Chase Claypool. Then if you go back and you watch that route, Tua did not look off anything. He's staring down Chase Claypool. So game on the line. Mistake one, Chase Claypool is your primary. Mistake number two, you're staring down Chase Claypool. And mistake number three, you're staring down Chase Claypool with the game on the line while he's double covered. And then you threw a bad ball on top of that. So I mean, I don't know what you want. I don't know what more to encapsulate what the Tua Tagovailoa experience is than that right there. Yes, when everything is perfect, he looks elite. When he has Waddle at full strength, when he has Tyreek Hill at full strength, when he has Raheem Mostert and Achane in the offensive line, when everything is perfect and a great play caller and McDaniels, when he has everything, when the table is set for him, he can eat. But when you're bare on ingredients, when you ain't got nothing but some ramen, he don't know what to do with that shit. He can't cook. He can't cook when you got nothing but ramen and the cupboard is bare and you got to make a meal out of nothing. He can't do that. Tua needs to have the whole thing. He needs to do the Instacart and have all his shit delivered to him, and then he could chef up a 5-7 course meal that is immaculate. But when you got to go to Stop and Shop and things is hitting a little light, he got nothing for you. Tua Tagovailoa's got nothing for you. So I don't understand why the Dolphins would continue to play these games when it comes to Tua. Like, I saw enough And we've been down this road with other teams in their QBs. Desmond Ridder, we saw enough last year in those 4 games. By seeing nothing, we saw enough. Oh, there's nothing here. Drake London, Cal Pitts, you still can't air it out? Okay, yeah, I'm good. And then the Falcons learned the hard way by being selfish, by being cocky, by being ignorant. They learned. They could have been in the Lamar Jackson sweepstakes. They could have had a guy that is most likely going to win an MVP. Now I know Corey's in here and he was a big proponent of, the whole narrative of the Falcons are rebuilding. But would the Falcons have been rebuilding if they would have traded for Lamar Jackson? I don't think so. So the narrative of the Falcons rebuilding, if they would have had a competent QB to go along with a defense that at times played well, the numbers and the metrics at times had them top 10 or whatever, but overall they were an above average defense, not top 10, maybe in stats, but in terms of actually watching them play and watching the tape, they were not a top 10 defense. But in regards to having them, if they would have had Lamar Jackson, that's not a rebuilding team, right? So if that's where we're at, then we can't really get too caught up in the whole notion of rebuild versus not rebuild. So be that as it may, we're going to move along. I'll jump back into the screen here because the whole Josh Allen thing and then the Tua thing, that there is a lot in this division to go over. But the fact of the matter is that the Miami Dolphins, with Mike McDaniels, who is like us, he plays Madden, he does plays on the field like Madden, all that type of stuff. This team was supposed to be dynamic. This team was supposed to be a special one. This is a team that scored the second most points in the league. The second highest average amount of points in the league. And against the Buffalo Bills, they only scored 2 measly touchdowns. And when the game mattered, they didn't go to Tyreek Hill. They went to Chase Claypool. That cannot be the play design. While Jameis Winston is out here calling audibles to get his mans and them a touchdown, he said, I know the coach said to do this, bump that. We're going to do it the way we want to do it. If Tua Tagovailoa hears McDaniel calling a play call in that is asking for Chase Claypool to be the primary, he's got to check out of that, bruh. Not when I got Tyreek Hill. Because if Chase Claypool, you're going to throw to him when he's double covered, then I might as well just throw to Tyreek Hill, he's double covered. At least there, I'm more likely to draw a flag or something. But to put everything on Chase Claypool, who's been doing nothing but chilling for months since the Bears got him over there. Now, game on the line, no Waddle. We're going to go to Chase Claypool? I'm not going to call the Dolphins a poverty franchise because that's too damning of an indictment. But that was very poverty franchise-esque in terms of going to Chase Claypool when you have Tyreek Hill on the other side. If they're doubling Chase Claypool, I'll take my chances with Tyreek Hill being double covered. But anyway, their reward for their ineptitude, and if you're talking about them getting, they lose the division at the crib to Buffalo. The week prior to that, they got their doors blown off by the Baltimore Ravens, giving up 56. And then, they squeezed in a couple of dubs over a last-minute victory against the Cowboys, which was all field goals. The offense didn't even do shit against the Cowboys. It was all field goals. And then they beat up the Jets on Christmas Eve. But then that Titans game before that. So the last 5 games, they lost 3 out of the last 5 to end the regular season. Okay, these are your Miami Dolphins. They were 10-3, and then they finish up 11-6. Okay, they had that Titans game. What was it, a Thursday night game? They lost that Titans game, but they were up like 14 points late in the fourth quarter, and they choked it off. Okay, then they go get right against the Jets. Then they go ahead and squeeze out that victory against the Cowboys with nothing but field goals, and then they just give up 56 of them things to the Ravens, and then choke at the crib. This offense is supposed to be top tier with this QB that if we keep them upright, we can go places. The only place you're going now is Arrowhead as a 5th seed. Okay? You're going to Arrowhead as a 5th seed. Good luck with that. Absolutely good luck with that. Salute. And I think the Chiefs are going to take care of business. Salute if you don't have Peacock, but you know how to get around that. If you don't know how to get around that, hit me up at the Sam D in the DMs, and I will inform you. And then we got the Browns and the Texans. I think this is just a game that we should all just take glory in, because these are two teams that shouldn't have been here. With the Browns on their 4th QB, with the Texans with a rookie head coach, a rookie quarterback that missed time late in the year. The Texans are not supposed to be here. Yet here they are. The Browns with their 4th-string QB are not supposed to be here. Yet they are. This is an amazing game here. And I think that this is a game here that there's no real analysis that needs to go into this, because this is a game that we should just celebrate. Joe Flacco starting a playoff game is not something any of us thought we were going to have coming into this season. DeMeco Ryans coaching a playoff game in his rookie season as a division winner is not something we all saw or thought coming into this upcoming season. So I think the Browns and Texans is a game just for all of us to sit back and just watch. It just bask in the glory of the fact that there's a lot of teams. The Jets are sitting at home. There's a lot of teams that were supposed to be here. A lot of teams that were supposed to be here, and yet they're not. The Chargers are at home, yet here are the Texans and the Browns. Chargers gave all that money to Justin Herbert, to Jay Herbo. Didn't want to pay Austin Eckler. And the reward is they get to watch the Texans and the Browns Saturday on NBC. Salute. So I'll go through quickly. I think the Bills will take care of the Steelers. I think the Chiefs will take care of the Dolphins. And Texans-Browns, I really don't care. But if you make me make a pick, I would love for the Texans to get that dub. But I think the Browns have too much offense. And I think the defense is still top tier. And I think Myles Garrett will show his ass for one game. So I think the Browns will go ahead and take care of the Texans. Head to the chat real quick. Lombardi Leap. I do own the Bears. So yes, they are poverty. Yes, the Bears are trust me, if anybody knows, it's me. As a former fan of that franchise, yes, they are a poverty franchise. Salute to those that still root for that organization. I could not do it. You know, people have tried to talk me into it, but I can't wait for Justin Fields to leave there. If he stays there, if I'm Justin Fields, I want assurances that the Bears are going to take a wide receiver. I want Marvin Harrison. If I'm Justin Fields, the only way I would re-sign anything is if I know that they're going to go after Marvin Harrison Jr. with the first overall pick. So, but knowing the Bears, they won't do that, because that will require them to have some moxie, some acumen in the front office, and it has remained to be shown that they have that. They did good in the Montez Sweat deal, but that's about it. So over in the NFC, where things can get really dicey real quick. So the Packers and the Cowboys. Mac McCarthy, you're on watch, sir. You are on watch. Jerry Jones has come out and said, you know, what's the job security looking like for Mike McCarthy? And he said, we're taking it game by game. Dog, this is the wild card round of the playoffs. You're hosting a home game. You won the division. And your owner is saying, yeah, your job security is not promised. You could be out of here. I have Belichick and Harbaugh hovering. Okay? It is not guaranteed that you're going to keep this job. So you better get that dub. And Jordan Love has looked really good. The receiving weapons that he has, and they're all hella young. So there's this core. We're all going to get used to this core. And Christian Watson hasn't even really played up to his level. He's been hurt. He's been banged up the majority of the year. So the Packers are doing this with dudes that most of us have never heard of. So I'm sure Lombardi Leap is geeked up for that. Although I do think the Packers are taking the L to the Cowboys. I do think that. But look, the Cowboys have been known to choke in the playoffs. And things can happen, and wacky things can happen, especially in Jerry's world. So it wouldn't shock me if the Packers do it. I just would not put money on the Packers doing it. When it comes to the Rams, this is, Stafford versus Goff. And there's, blue check boys that are out here wondering aloud if this will finally decide who won the trade between the Rams and the Lions, ignoring the fact the Rams won a whole Super Bowl. I mean, as someone who used to be a fan of a team in the old NFC Central, now the NFC North, I think it's cool to have the Lions back in the mix and being relevant. But I mean, it would be completely lying it would be only the Lions could line in a way where they have such a layup to where they could showcase as a prime time Sunday night matchup and trick it off. Only like the Lions can. only like the franchise that made Megatron and Barry Sanders quit before they could reach their apex. They made 2 Hall of Famers quit because they couldn't take the ineptitude that surrounded this franchise. So it wouldn't shock me if the Lions went lion and spit the bit, but I just think they're just too good. They're too good. The roster's too good. And I think the Rams are just here by spit. They're just here by spit because a lot of things had to break right, and it broke right. The Seahawks had some chances to get in there. The Saints had some chances to get in there, and the things didn't break right, but it broke right for the Rams. So I think the Rams, their playoffs was these last couple of weeks when they've been surprising teams and winning games. And then you have the Eagles. Hi, Philly. The Eagles, man. Look, Sirianni, I don't know if he's going to be the one that's going to be let go. Apparently, there is a good chance that a coach from this division, the NFC East, can be let go, depending on the outcome of not only just the playoffs, but the regular season, right? So the Eagles have been, stumbling down here to the finish, and it's not looking good for your man Sirianni because now he's starting to look like the dude that we were questioning in his opening press conference. He's looking like the dude that didn't look like, he didn't know what the end of a punctuation to a sentence was. He just had the one long run-on, rambling, I don't know, it was a monologue or a diatribe. I don't know what that was, but Sirianni was out here, and we were all questioning who the hell did the Eagles just hire? But none of that mattered when they were in the Super Bowl last year. And most people ignore the fact that the Eagles had the easiest schedule in the league. So not only were they one of the most talented rosters from top to bottom, but they also had the easiest schedule in the league. And everything broke right for them to make it all the way to the Super Bowl in a game where they should have won if it wasn't for Bradbury holding every other play. But they still end up losing to the Chiefs. So now they did not have the easiest schedule in the league. They have lost some pieces, mostly on defense, but then they also did great things in the draft to supplant some of those needs. So more or less the same team. And it just hasn't hit the same. New OC, things like that. But more or less, the Eagles have not looked like the team that went, roughshod through the majority of the NFC the entire year last year. So the Eagles are a team where they can get hot, sure. They still have a lot of talent, right? But something's not clicking. Jalen Hurts is clearly playing to his last name. He is hurt. The man is not 100%. I defy anyone to say that they're actually 100% this time of the year playing football, but more so than not, Jalen Hurts might not even be 50%. He might not even be 50% the way that he has looked over the last month and change of this season. So the Eagles, to me, they'll get past the Buccaneers, or at least they should. Or more importantly, they better, for Sirianni's sake. They better. They spit the bit and lose to the Bucs? Oh, there's no way you could bring Sirianni back. There's absolutely positively no way you could bring Sirianni back. But the Eagles now, can they get hot and make a run? Can they figure it out? Can they do enough? Can they out-talent people? Of the teams that we assume are left, right? We assume the Cowboys are going to win. We assume the Lions are going to win. We assume the Eagles are going to win. And then we bring in the 49ers. Of the 49ers, the Lions, the Cowboys, and the Eagles, can the Eagles out-talent any of those teams? I think they can out-talent the Cowboys. I don't think they can out-talent the Lions and the 49ers. And that's pretty damning. That is extremely damning for a team that, looked to be unstoppable last year and looked to be on the verge of, at various times throughout this season, playing to that level this year. So I think the Eagles are in trouble. And I think you really have to start looking at, they have a draft philosophy, clearly. Roseman has done wonders in this draft, but has he ignored certain things? Is the cupboard bare at too many key positions? Linebacker is a weakness on this team. Secondary is a weakness on this team. Those are positions he normally does not address with high draft picks. And I'm not necessarily mad at that, but has he has he given too much or too little of a fuck about fixing those positions? Eagles are in trouble, but I do expect them to take care of the Buccaneers. So we'll be locked in on the playoffs here. You know, I'll be tapping in with y'all next Monday once we get the results. Oh, wait, there's a game next Monday, right? Yeah, there's a game, the Eagles game. So maybe that Tuesday or maybe late Monday night, not sure. But we'll tap in with the results of this real quick. So let me see here. How much time we got? All right, cool. Let's see if we can knock out the Bob Myers thing here. If you have any comments, do you have a sleeper? I'm going to assume if Lombardi Leap is still here, we kind of know where he wants to go with it. We know he thinks his Packers are going to take care of business against the Cowboys in Jerry's world, but we shall see. But in regards to this right here, Bob Myers is now a, what's the term that they use? An advisor, consultant for the Washington Commanders, right? And here's the problem, right? Ian Rappaport, who is a mouthpiece of the NFL, right? So let's be clear. The Commanders are hiring one of the best in sports. Okay? So already they're hitting with a lot of hyperbole. One of the best in sports, luring two-time NBA Executive of the Year, Bob Myers, to the NFL to help run their franchise. Bombshell. A four-time NBA champ, Myers built, here's where the words start the wording, Myers built the Warriors dynasty before stepping down to work in TV. Now he lands in the NFL. There is a lot wrong with this tweet, okay? Myers built the Warriors dynasty is the main part I want to navigate. And anyone who knows ball and knows the Dubs whole thing and their run knows that that is one of the most asinine statements ever said. Because Myers did not build the Warriors dynasty. Who built the Warriors dynasty then? If I'm saying Bob Myers did not, well, we could go with the logo, okay? Jerry West was there. Jerry West was the one picking players. Now, you have to do the reading in between the lines thing, because Jerry West was not the GM. He was an advisor. He was a consultant. And his role on paper did not have personnel decisions included in it. However, you don't bring in the logo. You don't bring in Jerry West, who helped build various Laker dynasties, and tell him he can't help pick the players. And prior to him coming to the Dubs, he was just fresh off rebuilding in a similar role, again, allegedly with no personnel decisions in his title, the Memphis Grizzlies. So while Jerry West was a member of the Golden State Warriors organization in a role that did not have personnel power, we know who picked them players, okay? So first of all, let's start there. And I'm not the only one who said this. Peter Vesey, he's one of the OGs in this basketball media landscape. He said it right here, Myers did not build the Warriors. Curry, Clay, and Green were drafted by previous management. Now, here's where it's a little shaky, because Bob Myers got there in 2011. Jerry West got there in 2010. Clay, I believe, was a 2011 draft pick. So first year Myers there, but Jerry West was the one that was in charge. Jerry West said pick Clay. Hard stop. With Klay Thompson being the Golden State Warrior, that was all Jerry West. Jerry West had to beg them to take Klay Thompson, okay? And they already had Steph. So they already had Steph. Jerry West drafts Klay Thompson, and then, in my opinion, and for what people I trust have told me, Mark Jackson got the most out of Draymond Green, okay? And that was all nothing to do with Bob Myers. That's player development, and that's Jerry West. So while Bob Myers is running around here with a resume that looks amazing on paper, this is an amazing resume, four-time NBA champ, built the Warriors dynasty. Like, this will win two-time NBA Executive of the Year. This will win any press release. This is how you get it off if you're trying to win a press release of we hired that dude. Like, don't ever question us. Look at the dude that we just hired, a two-time NBA Executive of the Year, four-time NBA champ. He built a dynasty. But then with those who know, we know the real. That he did not build that dynasty, that he was not involved in player personnel when they were winning and establishing that dynasty. And if we really want to get into what he was in charge of, when he was actually in charge, he took James Wiseman over LaMelo Ball. That's the two-time NBA Executive of the Year, Bob Myers. Klay Thompson tears his ACL again the night of the draft. So even if you didn't want to take LaMelo and you still wanted to take, even if you went into that day saying we're taking Wiseman, I'm taking the big, cool. Klay Thompson falls down and goes boom, tears his ACL. It's giving you an opportunity to say, you know what? We could use this to take LaMelo. Even though it won't make sense to some people, we know why we're doing it. Klay's nearing the end. We need to figure this out. And they didn't do it. They still stuck to their guns and they took James Wiseman, who flamed out in under 3 seasons. That's the two-time NBA Executive of the Year. That's the 4-time NBA champ. That's the dude who y'all are saying built the Warriors dynasty. He took James Wiseman for a scheme that made no sense for him to play in. It made no sense for James Wiseman to be a Golden State Warrior. And because of that, his career may be forever tainted and ruined because he spent his first couple of years playing in a system that was never made for him to play in. When you had LaMelo Ball, who could have been what y'all wanted Jordan Poole to be. He could have been a better version. He could have been a splash cousin or a splash stepbrother. Yet you took James Wiseman. This is not who built the Warriors dynasty. This guy right here. He did not do that. Jerry West did that. All right, we go into Harbaugh. Your man's Harbaugh had a lot to say. And he's saying a lot of things that sound great as the championship game starts tonight. As you have UW versus the Amazing Blue in the Michigan Wolverines. So University of Washington versus the Michigan Wolverines and the Natty tonight. But the main thing is that Harbaugh is saying a lot of things about getting college players paid. And he's saying a lot of things. Well, look, I'll let him say it. He can spit it for himself. Let me make sure these settings are right so y'all can hear it. That certainly has been a thing today. And make sure that is good. That should play there. 1, 2, 3, check 1, 2. That's not muted. Okay, let's go ahead and play that. Y'all should hear audio.
The billions that are being generated, they're not getting much of, very small percentage.
Well, we need to take a break real quick.
They're getting the same amount as I got, in the 80s. They get a scholarship. Reward works in tuition. So,
oh, he's lying. He's big.
Come on, man. Let's do the right thing here. And who is that voice? I don't know that. Who's the voice for the student athletes? But you got the organizations, that are really fighting for their share and their piece. And it's time to share.
Harbaugh is big lion.
I'll say it this way, anybody that's profiting off of the student athletes right now, myself included, coaches, somewhere between 5 and 10%, take 5 to 10% less. That'd be go for any administrator, any coach.
That's hilarious. He is asking current coaches, staff, administrators to take a 5 to 10% pay cut and funnel that money back to the players. Now, I have a caveat to that.
Conference, any university, NCAA, 5 to 10% less, and then maybe a 5% tax from the television station more into one pot for the student athletes. Maybe that's a start.
That's a start.
But some conversation here on how to how to get it done. Because
Oh, Jim, he's preaching to the choir. He's talking that talk.
I
Pay
don't
the
know if
players.
people notice, but I've been told maybe 17% is going up. The TV contracts are going up another 17% next year.
This is how you win and keep getting recruits, by telling recruits, I want y'all to get paid. I'll even take 5 to 10% less so y'all can get paid. And while that sounds good, and while I think some part of Jim Harbaugh actually does believe that college players should get paid, why is he saying this as he is openly flirting with the CDL? I'll give y'all 5 to 10%. Well, guess what? He's not going to give you 5 to 10. Well, what's 5 to 10% if he's no longer at the University of Michigan? Okay? I'll give you 5 to 10%, but I'm not going to be there. I'm not going to be there. I'm going to be in the NFL. Let's move on to Jim Harbaugh being the 12th highest paid coach in college football, making $8.3 million a year. So let's take him at his word. He's making $8.3 million a year. He wants to give up 10%. That's $830,000. College quarterbacks at big-time college football programs like Michigan are getting $1 million to $1.5 to $2 million a year. But Harbaugh wants to kick back a little $800,000. That can't even get the quarterback you currently have, Jim. But anyway, let's continue. The $8.3 million a year that Harbaugh is being paid is $100,000 more than the entire coaching staff of the University of Washington. Okay, so Harbaugh is making $100,000 more a year than the entire coaching staff of UW. Okay, Michigan's coaching staff was collectively paid $16.4 million. Now, Sportico is doing the science here, so salute to Sportico. They will go through your numbers. They will audit you. They're damn near the IRS when it comes to this sports shit. We combed through Harbaugh's original contract. Here are some highlights. Harbaugh had an apparel budget of $4,000 per calendar year to spend on Michigan merch. Let me read that to you again. The head coach of the Michigan football team negotiated into his contract an apparel budget of $4,000 per year to spend on University of Michigan merch. He got tickets to games, football, in a private box, etc. Private jet usage. Access to 2 cars with expenses. Now, Harbaugh has a very small buyout, especially when you compare it here, like they have it here, to compare it to Jimbo Fisher. His buyout by Michigan is only $2 million. Jimbo Fisher's in comparison with $77 million. If Harbaugh wants to buy out of his contract and say go to the NFL or another team, it would cost him $1 million. So he would have to pay $1 million. But again, he's getting $8.3 million a year, and this is just this year. He's been upper echelon in terms of pay for a while now, and he has NFL money. So we know he can afford to pay $1 million if he really wants to leave to go to the NFL. But again, Harbaugh wants to pay the players. He wants to give up a little $830,000 to the players. And if it's 5%, cut that in half, a little $415,000, which won't even give you, a QB at Iowa. You can't even be a QB at Iowa for no $400,000. Okay? Okay? Nice try, Harbaugh. Nice try. All right, so we'll move on. What's the last topic? We'll get into the habitual nut hitter. The habitual nut hitter is back. The habitual nut hitter has a lot to say. Number one, he's been reinstated into the National Basketball Association. Let's jump into the screen at the last topic. He was reinstated a couple days ago, and he's needing a week or so to get back into game shape. And of course, he has not spoken to the media because he has a podcast. And when your podcast has gone away for a while, because he was gone for 19 days or whatever. I think he was gone for 19 days. He's talking about how he was locked in his man cave for 2 days. His daughter had to come and his 3-year-old daughter had to come out there and rescue him from being just, sequestered in his own man cave. A pod needs to have clicks. So he had to go out here and do some things to get some clicks today. So the podcast is out. He also announced a new deal or a re-up of his deal with the volume, confirming that the clicks need to be clicked because now he's getting more of a bag. And now he's out here talking about Kevin Durant again. He's doing that whole thing. He's bringing up old shit. It really pissed me off. Quote, it really pissed me off when Kevin Durant said he wasn't like that when I was around. I hope he gets the help that he needs. Okay, now, again, Kevin Durant said this after the habitual nut hitter put his new teammate Yusuf Nurkic in a chokehold on the court. Okay, that's how that went. All right, so that's how that happened. So Kevin Durant is still talking, and the habitual nut hitter is now responding because now he is allowed to respond because he's been reinstated by the NBA. Here's something that's peculiar. Why didn't he pod while he was away? Was that an appearance to look more serious and taking his time away, his indefinite suspension, more serious? Well, he ended up missing, 12 games in total? Yeah, 12 games in total. He missed a lot of time. He missed a lot of days. You could blame it on the holidays. You could blame it on a lot of things. But he went away and he was threatening to retire, and Adam Silver had to talk him out of retirement. Just a lot of narratives that he's getting off here on this podcast. And we know Adam Silver is never going to say anything to the contrary, because it will look bad for his product. So Draymond Green is saying stuff that can't be fact-checked, that can't be verified. It's the truth, and it makes headlines. You know who wishes that the habitual nut hitter would actually retire? It's probably the Warriors. Because they probably wouldn't have to finish paying him the rest of that, 4-year, $100 million contract. They probably wish he would go away. It would probably, speed up the whole rebuild. That's a team that's actually rebuilding. It would probably speed up the rebuild if the habitual nut hitter actually walked away. Mans is out here on this podcast saying all the things. And now there was another clip that came out, or another report that said him and Steve Kerr, him and Coach Steve Kerr, who also told him publicly that he needs to calm down and stop with the antics. Apparently, they had a conversation at Draymond's crib and they cried together. I mean, dog, he is coming out with all the stories. Again, another story that, is Steve Kerr going to say that didn't happen? Is Steve Kerr going to go against his own player? A dude that literally was just on the court choking out Yusuf, choking out who was it? No, choking out Rudy Gobert in a sleeper, and then, putting a punching Yusuf Nurkic. Is he going to be able to say Draymond's lying? He's not going to do that. Even if he knows Draymond lying, he's not going to do that. So the habitual nut hitter is going to be able to get all of this off, and no one's going to fact check him, because the people that can fact check him are not incentivized to say, hey, Draymond's lying here. And when you have athletes who have podcasts, this is what happens as Jeff T goes out here and gets a bag from Shannon Sharp's company. All these athletes are seeing, yo, dogs, just get some microphones, a couple of cameras, let's tell some locker room stories, and somebody gonna cut us a check. And that's what's happening. Camden Mace is cutting Mark Jackson a check. I mean, this is where we at. Mark Jackson's getting the check from Camden Mace. Jeff Teague is getting the check from Shannon Sharp. The habitual nut hitter is getting a check from Colin Cowherd. If you're a former athlete and you got stories, you too can get a podcast and start cashing out. Let me know your thoughts. Clearly, y'all know mine. But I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up because this is take 2 of Timeline T. But I appreciate everyone tapping in, whether you're catching this live or on the replay. We will be back next week. Timeline T is going to become a weekly thing as I'm adjusting to my new work schedule and things of that nature. So I think Monday evenings is kind of a good time for me to be able to tap in and hopefully catch up with y'all live on the replay. So that's where we're going to take it for now. We'll adjust if we need be, but I think going forward, we can safely assume you'll get a Monday stream when it comes to Timeline T. So I appreciate y'all for being here. Salute to those who pulled up to the first iteration of the stream where we had some tech issues, had to go update the software, but now we're back, we're good and all that good stuff. So salute to y'all on the replay. I will see y'all again. Hopefully you check out the D70 podcast, which has a couple of episodes on this same very channel. So if you haven't tapped in with the podcast, go ahead and do that. Link for that is in the description and also on this channel. So got 2 episodes that have been coming out. I'm going to do another episode of the D70 podcast as well later this week. So that's kind of where we're at here. We're going to get a one weekly live stream and 1 weekly podcast, and then we'll take it from there as opposed to anything else that I could come in or like special love or watch parties or whatever the case may be. So salute to those who are able to pull up. Salute to y'all that are on the replay squad, catching the replay of the live stream. And I will holler at y'all whether on the podcast this week or next week, right back here on Timeline T.